Alright, so this is a brief redo of the order of operations lesson, just so you have it whenever you need it to review. Some of you wanted a little extra practice with your order of operations, and I thought it might be helpful for you to be able to look back on the lesson whenever you need it. So I'm going to go through the steps of order of operations, and I'm going to work out a couple examples, some of the ones that we did in class, and a couple new ones. So let's go through this. Order of operations. These are the operations that you should be following in order to solve any expression that you encounter from here on out in any math course. All right, these are the steps that you should follow. Um, Many of you were familiar with these, and you were using the "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally" or the PEMDAS mnemonics to remind yourself of the steps. But let's go through all of those. First thing, parentheses, that's the P in "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally" or PEMDAS. Any operations that are within parentheses, you must do first. So there's your P. The E comes with exponents. We did our mini lesson on exponents before we did order of operations. That's because exponents come before the other operations and after parentheses. Next, this is the one that is sometimes tricky, multiplication and division. That is your third step, but multiplication and division, one does not always come before the other. Let's write out parentheses, exponents. Multiplication and division are on the same playing field. You solve multiplication and division steps in the order that they appear on a problem. So you're not always multiplying before dividing, and you're not always dividing before multiplying. It just depends on what comes first. We'll look at an example that has that. And the same thing is true for your last two things, addition and subtraction. So although addition is listed before subtraction, if you're saying PEMDAS or "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally," that's just really to help with the remembering aspect of things. It's not always before subtraction. It really depends on what comes in the problem that you're working on, what comes first. So when you're writing out PEMDAS or "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally" to help you remember, if you do that, I wouldn't write it straight down the line because multiplication and division are within the same step and addition and subtraction are within the same step. Let's look at what I mean. That's some examples. So, first example here, we've got 6 plus 2 within parentheses divided by 4 times the quantity 18 divided by 3. So, it always helps to have the steps written out. And now let's go through. All right, the first thing I'm seeing, P parentheses, yes. We've actually got two sets of parentheses. So we're going to solve within those before we do anything else. Also, when you are solving these problems, please take the time to show your work. Go line by line. Don't try to do everything at once. You want to be able to go back and check your work and see the steps that you followed. So first thing I'm doing is 6 plus 2 in parentheses, 8. And I also have these parentheses, so I might as well knock them out at the same time since they're simple one-step things. 18 divided by 3 is 6. All right, now bring down whatever you didn't use. My new line, 8 divided by 4 times 6. Now this is a great example. All that's left in this problem is multiplication and division. Just because multiplication comes first over here in my "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally" does not mean that I do that operation first. Multiplication and division, you just do them in the order that they come in from left to right. So in this case, I'm actually going to be dividing first. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And then I'll finish up with multiplication. 2 times 6 is 12. And there's my final answer. All right, so let's look at another example problem here. We have, I think, one that was done in class, but it can't hurt to see it again. 30 minus quantity 6 plus 2 within parentheses times 3. So I've got parentheses first. 6 plus 2 is 8. Bring everything else down that you didn't use. Keep things organized. Keep it nice and neat for yourself. Next, Parentheses, done. Exponents, don't see any. So multiplication comes before subtraction. I'm going to do that first. 8 times 3 is 24. Bring everything else down. I didn't use it yet, leaving me with 30 minus 24, which is 6. All right, and there's 2 examples of order of operations. Let's look at the 3 that were done in class. For those of you who did follow along in class and took the notes and saw these ones and felt comfortable, feel free to skip ahead. I'll be doing 2 more example problems that are brand new. But for those of you who just want to see things again, and especially those who want a little bit more work with exponents, take a look at these again. So the first one I've got 2 to the 3rd power minus 6 divided by 3. I like writing out my steps just so I can check myself as I go. Parentheses for this one, nope, but there are exponents, so that's my first step, 2 to the 3rd power. Remember, 2 is the base, 3 is the exponent, 2 times 2 times 2, 3 times. So 2 times 2 times 2, I'm going to work this problem out over here, is 8. Bring everything else down that you didn't use. Okay, so now I've got parentheses no, exponents no, multiplication or division. Yep, I have division. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And finish up with the easy subtraction. 8 minus 2 is 6. Okay. Let's look at this one. We've got another exponent problem. So this, the exponent that's hanging out outside of the parentheses, that means that it is attached to whatever you solve within the parentheses. So parentheses comes before exponents. Let's solve the parentheses first. I'll work this one out right here within this box. Okay. And this one's over here. All right, so 2 plus 1 is 3. That's what I solved within the parentheses. Bring everything else down. That exponent that was hanging out outside the parentheses is attached to that 3. 3 to the 2nd power, exponents comes next, means 3 times 3, which is 9. Be careful, don't do 3 times 2 and 6. 3 to the 2nd power is 3 times 3 is 9. 5 plus 9 is 14, and I'm done. Okay, and let's look at this last one here. Now this one, there's a little more to it because there's more happening within the parentheses. So I've got parentheses, and within there, I've got an exponent, I've got addition, I've got division. So what do I do first? So this 3 times something. What's going on? Let's see. Within the parentheses, I have exponents. Those are going to be done first. Look at your list. Exponents comes before everything else. So 7 squared just means 7 times 7, which is 49. I'm going to bring everything else down. I didn't use it yet, so let's keep things organized. Still parentheses. What's in there? Addition and division. Division comes first, so 18 divided by 2 is 9. Bring everything else down. Okay, and now I've got parentheses, just addition, very easy. 49 plus 9 is 58, and then 3 times 58, do a little multiplication on the side if you need to. You should end up with 174. So taking a look at that again, parentheses first, within there, exponents came first, then division, then addition, and then I finished up with my multiplication. All right, and now here's the brand new final 2 problems that we're going to look at. If you'd like, pause the video, try them by yourself, and then come back and see how you did. One thing I'd like to point out that some people get tripped up on is right here. Whenever you've got a number directly next to a parentheses and there's no operation shown there, it's always multiplication. So whenever you see no operation and you've got a number right next to parentheses, it really means you're multiplying there. So just be careful and write it in there if you need to, if you need a little reminder. You are actually multiplying within there. So with that being said, let's work through this problem. All right. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally PEMDAS. Parentheses, yes, let's work those through first. 9 minus 7 is 2. Bring everything else down. 13 minus 5. Now remember, within that 5 and that 2, we're multiplying, so write it in there. Multiplication happens to be my next step because between multiplication and subtraction, multiplication happens first. 5 times 2 is 10, leaving me with 13 minus 10, which is 3. Okay, so again, parentheses first, then I multiplied, then I subtracted, boom, got 3. All right, last one. Pause it if you want. Try it by yourself and then tune back in and see how you did. First thing I'm noticing are parentheses. So go within those parentheses. Pretty simple. It's just some addition. We got some decimal addition. So just to make sure we're perfect with that, line up your decimals. Okay, 2 and 6/10 plus 2 and 4/10, line them up. You should end up with 5, an even 5. So bring everything else down. 12. Remember, we're multiplying when there's a number next to parentheses. 12 times 5 minus 24 plus 3. All right, do I have parentheses? No. Exponents? No. But I do have multiplication. That comes next. That comes before subtraction and addition. 12 times 5 is 60. Bring everything else down. Now this is another great example. My last two things are addition and subtraction. Those two things, one does not come before the other. You just solve them in order from left to right. So left to right, I've got subtraction first. Even though addition's listed first in PEMDAS, it's just for memory purposes. Really, you go left to right. So 60 minus 24, that's going to be my first step here. That leaves me with 36. And then my last step is addition. 36 plus 3 is 39. All right, so take a second, go over that, review what you need, ask questions if you still need to. I'm always available for extra help, and if you would like some additional practice problems, just let me know. You can email me or ask in class, and I will provide you with a little extra so that you can really perfect this. So good luck, practice, do your best.